Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and today I want to talk about the contrast between corporate diplomacy and state diplomacy. As you're aware, that United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken made his second visit to to China in less than a year, and he had a long list of things that he wanted to do, mostly threatening China and on both its domestic as well as on its foreign policy. But an interesting development was at the same time, Elon Musk, a couple of days later, Elon Musk also visited Beijing. And it is incredible. If you would ask me of how successful Antony Blinken was on a scale of 0 to 10, I would give Antony Blinken 0 out of 10 in terms of the success of his mission, because all the demands that he made from China simply did not agree to any of those demands, and I will list them to you shortly. But Elon Musk's trip was extremely successful. On a scale of 0 to 10, I would probably give it 10 out of 10, and I will explain to you why. But before that, subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share it with your socio-political network. So coming to Antony Blinken's visit to China, as you know, I have talked about it more than once on this show. Janet Yellen also went there. They had the same mission. On the international affairs issues, they are extremely concerned that Chinese companies and China are basically supporting Russia's military-industrial complex. They are worried about exports, microelectronics, and all other stuff. Blinken provides a whole list of things that China is exporting to Russia, which then Russia is using in its military activities in Ukraine. Apparently, Blinken said, it was very interesting watching Blinken. He must be one of the most unbelievably hypocritical secretaries of state we have ever had. So he goes there and says, look at all these things that you are doing. You're supplying support for Russia's military industrial complex, and they're using your components to attack and kill children and women in Ukraine. The US has been doing exactly that with Israel, supplying weapons, but going far more than that. Actually, US Air Force, US military, US generals are involved directly in the huge massacre that has happened in Gaza. Over 34,000, most of them women and children. Even as we speak this week, 40 people were killed in Rafah, half of them women and children, and the US is further providing diplomatic cover. Apparently, as we speak today, the US government is all focused on only one thing: to ensure that ICC does not issue warrants of arrest for Netanyahu. So, but nevertheless, Blinken goes there and says, please do not do this and support Ukraine. So the second thing is that he wanted China to cut its overcapacity, which is flooding markets with cheap batteries, solar cells, and EVs, electronic vehicles, which is threatening Western, especially European manufacturing and even US manufacturing. The problem with this diplomacy is that even as Blinken goes there trying to making demands of China and threatening China, the US is also taking punitive actions. For example, giving $8 billion to Taiwan. That is as good as killing the so-called strategic ambiguity position that the US was taking. This is commitment to Taiwan. There's no doubt about it. I mean, from now on, China should simply assume that the US is an ally to Taiwan as it is to Ukraine. I don't know how that is going to play out, really. And the second thing is, while he's going and asking for economic concessions from China and saying, please don't make our manufacturing uncompetitive. So just simply do not wipe out our green manufacturing with your subsidized marketing, while the US also does exactly the same thing, passes the CHIP Act where it is subsidizing US manufacturing, it is imposing bans on exports to China, and now the TikTok so-called ban. So while it is doing this, it's also asking China to behave. I think the United States has perhaps I think the US is talking to China as it would talk to a poor, underdeveloped third world country. The Chinese, on the other hand, say that the United States is trying its best to curtail China's economic development by basically placing hurdles in its growth economically and technologically. On the other hand, after Blinken left, you can see that the Chinese government has sent a lot of hints that it is going to retaliate, especially after Biden signs the law about sending weapons or at least providing $8 billion in military assistance to Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific region, and also the TikTok legislation. We have to see in what way, what specific manner in which China will retaliate, because at the moment the Chinese economy does need US and foreign investment, so taking punitive action against Western companies is probably not the best option for China at the moment. So what options does China have? That remains to be seen. But a lot of analysts have, and as did I, comment that these days it seems that Xi Jinping is more interested in national security issues than just trade and economic issues. So he might actually harm his own economy and his own industry in order to maintain China's national security as he sees it being threatened by the United States. So let's see how it responds. But Taiwan is reporting enhanced Chinese military activity around Taiwan. This was one of the things that Blinken was there to talk about, that basically asking China to stop threatening and bullying Taiwan, and China has actually stepped up on that. So in a way, you could say that not only has Blinken's mission to Beijing failed, but Beijing is now actually escalating in a way, and we will see what the US response will be to this. On the other hand, if you look at the corporate side of this, Elon Musk did something, I don't know what to say. He did take a quick trip to Beijing and has essentially got permission to access a lot of strategically important data, highly sensitive maps. His whole project of collecting data, working with artificial intelligence people in China in order to improve his self-driving Tesla. So in that sense, it was everything that he wanted from China, he got it in the 2 days that he spent there. Not only that, but Elon Musk was having a bad time here in the US. He had dropped the prices of Tesla cars by more than $2,000. The stock was dropping, and now that he went to China and he got some of these concessions from the Chinese, the stock is once again going up, and the prospects of Tesla look really good going forward. But also, what is interesting about Elon Musk is, besides the fact that he was more successful in his mission than Blinken was, Elon Musk also canceled his visit to India, or postponed his visit to India, in which he would have obviously met with Prime Minister Modi. This would have been an important campaign moment for Prime Minister Modi to stand there and have a photo op with Elon Musk and perhaps announce that Tesla is now coming to India. Now all that has been postponed. So this is a very interesting choice that Elon Musk has made by basically dissing India and turning to China. And then, of course, he also says he's a big admirer of China. So this is going to hurt with, as far as India is concerned. If Prime Minister Modi wins this election, it is quite possible that there might be some anger in India towards Elon Musk and Tesla. India's finance minister did make a comment saying that India was doing its best to make sure that big investors from overseas came to India and invested in India, and they were trying their best to make things easy and welcoming for foreign investors. So basically trying to say that we are willing to accommodate Tesla, but we are disappointed that Tesla, at least Elon Musk, didn't come to India this time. Perhaps he can come next month or later. There are some cynical or interesting commenters here saying that maybe after seeing the voter turnout in phase 1 and phase 2, Elon Musk probably wants to wait and see what the election outcome is. I mean, it's quite possible that he might face a very strong Modi or not so strong Modi in Delhi, and that might help him in his negotiations with India. But what is interesting is this, that big corporations like Tesla and Apple and others have their own diplomatic clout, and they seem to be doing well in some parts of the world, much better than the United States. Partly because I think corporations, the only threat corporations can make to other countries is we will withdraw our investments and go elsewhere, whereas the United States continues to threaten other countries. It is quite possible that the United States approach towards China, constantly threatening it with sanctions and all of that, with all this business of decoupling, will definitely hurt Chinese economy, but it is also going to hurt the US economy because of the profound interconnections. If America thinks it can bring back manufacturing to the US and then be globally competitive, I'm not sure if that is possible. Even by shielding the green industry in the US from China, and there are no Chinese electric vehicles in the US today. China's low-cost manufacturing of high-tech and high-quality goods is already making everybody in the West nervous. This is the same thing that Chancellor Scholz said when he went to China a couple of weeks ago, and this is what Biden said. So these are the two takeaways from this conversation. One, that corporations are also players in the international arena, and they also have their diplomatic style, and the decisions that they make can come back to hurt them. So while Elon Musk has a win in China, he also is going to pay a price, maybe not, in India. So that is something that we will see and we will not know for some time. But it is very clear that at least in this week, Elon Musk did a much better job with achieving his goals in his visit to Beijing than Antony Blinken did during his visit to China. He has merely exacerbated the situation, and it looks like China is going to double down on that behavior. Now, what remains to be seen is, will China step up its support to Russia, and then will the United States then sanction China to save Ukraine? I hope you found this discussion about diplomacy by states and diplomacy by corporations interesting and thought-provoking, and so please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share it with your socio-political network. Thank you for watching Khanversations. I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan.